Hi everyone, and welcome to today's event. Today we're going to be having amazing people, amazing entrepreneurs pitching their ideas. The interesting thing about this is that they're not just here by coincidence. They're here because they participated in ITU challenges. And I'm going to let Mo explain a bit more about this. But if you can please give Mo a round of applause and a round of applause to the winners as well for having participated and winning as well.
Hello, everybody. Okay, thank you. Can I have that?
Yep.
I told you not to do this, which is not to stand here and to introduce yourself, but I'm the chaos master, so I can always change the rules in case you don't know this. But I'm really, really happy to have you here. As you all know, some of you have been co-creating for 10 weeks about this challenge. And why do we do these challenges? And I think the reason is really simple. We have a lot of people out there with hopes, lots of young people, lots of innovators. They're trying to really build something for their communities, but they're not able to. Some of you are here. You were handpicked by the jury. One of the jury members is here. And the reason why we're handpicked is because we want to show that you can actually build unicorns in your communities. But first, we need to understand why. Many of you have very much good practices that are fostering innovation, and these good practices have been validated by us. That's why you're winners here. Some of you are entrepreneurs who basically live in very successful countries. I'm not going to say who, Julia. Sorry, I called your name. And actually, it's interesting. We have Lee sitting next to you, who's from UK also. If you follow the panel on Monday, he was actually saying literally how he was crawling out of the valley of death. So you all know Lee. Can you stand up, please? So Lee was one of those entrepreneurs who went through our challenge. But Lee could not even submit his final application. Do you know why? Anybody know why? Because he was busy chasing money so he can crawl out of that valley of death. And we have many, many people out there with hopes. They all think that they should have a unicorn. But I always tell people, you don't understand what you don't understand that you don't understand. Taking an idea to scale is the privilege of very few ecosystems in the world. If you're in Silicon Valley, you have high growth money. You have a lot of investors with appetite for this kind of business model. But if you are not, you do not have a lot of luck. But what you do have, or you may have in your ecosystem, is actually opportunities, right? And I'll tell you a bit of story. One of my favorite places to go is in Korea, in Busan. And I always joke about this because I say, wow, I used to think that some countries like Korea have a lot of technology, but the market is less, especially if you're getting into the new opportunity space. And there is nothing else to do. So what do? We go reinvent the toilet seat. In some developing countries, these toilet seats are, I mean, come on. You just need a big hole, that's it, right? But it's not sanitary. Well, this was until I went to Korea and actually started testing this. I said, oh, this is actually a cool idea. But when you live in a developed country and you do not have access to any more opportunities, or you don't know how to tap into these opportunities, but you have the market, and your ecosystem is not ready for you, you will never have these unicorns, right? So hopefully we can learn from the people today how they can help us build unicorn, or at least how they can build the bridges so that innovators can take their ideas to scale. Not to market, not to become little SMEs, but to scale. We can build these unicorns everywhere, and I'm hoping that all of you will teach us how. That's it.
Just really quickly to add a bit of context, I am part of the digital innovation team, and something that is very important that the ITU really wants to promote is co-creation and being able to understand every stakeholder and create real solutions to actual problems that they all differ. Developing countries, developed countries are going to have different things. They're going to have the fancy toilet that sprays water, or they're going to have to solve other problems. And so part of this is why these winners that are here, they used a very incredible platform that the ITU provided, where they put their ideas in there and they had to co-create. So these ideas that they have, not only they had it initially, but they had to co-create with other members, and this is the final product. And without further ado.
So what do we expect from you in the audience, those who are not winners? Listen to the people here. If you like their ideas, we want you to connect with them. If you think you have the opportunity to transfer some of these practices in your own ecosystem, so young people or innovators can really take their ideas to scale, please make sure you join this community. We are trying to really empower stakeholders. And we are looking for good practices, and more importantly, we're looking for champions. Without champions, you cannot do anything. So without further ado, I would let the scene to Victoria to invite our first pitch.
Yeah, so Mike, if you could please come to the stage. Are you all mic up, or you need a microphone?
I'll use this, but that's it? We go?
Yeah, you go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's a little unorthodox. I'm with the City of Summerside, which is a government organization, and we try and build bridges. Has anybody been to Canada? We got a few folks, so I can't tell too many lies about the country. This is what motivates me every morning. I get up in the morning and I say, economic development, our job is to help entrepreneurs grow in our community, grow in our country, grow in the global economy. And so when we wake up as EDOs, and I'm an economic development practitioner, we try and help, obviously, grow the community by making sure that these kids have opportunity. And it's through your entrepreneurship, it's through your vision, it's through your energy that you're going to help us do that. I'm going to talk quickly about Summerside and then get into why we're here. So we're located on the east coast of Canada. We have what we consider a 24-hour development cycle between Europe, obviously, North America, and then Asia. So a lot of IT firms do development in our city, as an example, because they can continue the development cycle 24 hours a day. Just the key stats, I'm not going to read this. Advanced manufacturing, aerospace, ICT, green and renewable technologies. Every one of those sectors, we're looking for innovation. Every one of those sectors, we're willing to help entrepreneurs grow. Every one of those sectors, we're willing to work with you to help you do the things that you need to do to get the market credibility that you're seeking. Our motto in Summerside, and we own our own utility, we own our own wind farm, we own our own recreational complex, we own our own port. It's not the infrastructure that we have, it's what we do with it. And that's why we created a living lab, and I'm going to talk obviously about that in a minute. Here's what Summerside's Living Lab's about. We understand the challenges that business face every day. We understand your frustrations, we understand your challenges, and so what we're trying to say is we'll offer you an opportunity to work in partnership with us to help you grow your technologies, to grow your solution, to grow your innovation. And once you're able to establish and grow that technology in our community, we're going to hold your hand, and we're going to take you to other markets in North America, and we're going to help introduce you to the people that you need to be introduced to, and we're going to be your valued partner to make that happen. Summerside, why do we do what we do? Size and scale, community of 15,000 people. We see around 45,000 people on a daily basis conduct business in our community. We see tourism of 1 million people per year. So we think we just have the right size and scale to help entrepreneurs grow their business. The other thing is we get people in the room that need to make decisions for you. There's no use wasting your time trying to come and meet different organizations, to different government agencies, different funding organizations. We'll bring them to you. And that's our promise, and that's what we try and do on a daily basis. The other thing is, remember back to the kids, we have a shared pride and purpose. At the end of the day, you bring innovation, you bring ideas, you bring advancement in the community. Hopefully we can work with you to bring knowledge transfer to our residents. There's what our built environment is. So as I say, we as a municipality, guess what? We own the utility, we own the roads, we own the streets, we own the wires, we own the port, we own the pollution plant. And so what we said to entrepreneurs around the globe is, if you want to play in our sandbox, give us a call, maybe we can do it. Here's some of our success stories. Some are locally grown, some are nationally grown, some are startups, some are international. Couple of ones, stash heat pumps. So we own our own wind farm. Quick story, own our own wind farm. Challenges, wind blows at night. We had to figure out how to store it. We partner with a bunch of university people that are probably standing on this stage just like when I met them, scared out of their wits like I am, talking a little bit about how we have a new technology, new innovation. So what we said is we'll invest in your company. We'll put our engineers with you from our electric utility and show you how to innovate energy storage. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, they just raised $400,000 in capital because they had the City of Summerside brand behind it. One of our most proudest investments, and we don't care about the investment. It was never about that. It was about how do we help 3 young island kids grow their business. We've partnered locally with, is that my notice? Oh, I got to speed up. We've done everything from infrastructure to IT. It hasn't been easy, I'll tell you that, from a municipal perspective, so I work in a municipal government. Organizational culture is a killer. We found ways to go over that. Obviously, regulation, legal, insurance, and finance. All these barriers that I've listed up here are the same barriers that you're facing. We want to help you overcome those barriers. We've had a successful track record doing that. Just quickly, and I have the presentation and I have some handouts as well, but these are some of the things that we're looking to help and work with companies to grow our community. So everything from security and surveillance, medical home solutions, biofuels, interoperability for big data. If our infrastructure matches what you're trying to do and you can help us solve some of these situations, we'd love to talk to you. What are our goals and our visions? We want to extend the scope of technology. We obviously want to nurture growth in technology for entrepreneurs. And at the end of the day, we want to grow our economy. We realize we have challenges. Municipal governments are no different than entrepreneurs. We have challenges in trying to grow our economy, and we need you to help us. And that's why I'm here today. I'm inviting you, if you see an opportunity in North America, that I'm hopefully a trusted advisor that can help you in your pathway towards growth. This is what we're looking at in terms of next generation. We're wiring our community with fiber optics, and we're working towards expanding our network and our infrastructure, and we're looking for new applications, new solutions, new ideas, new innovation to help us grow Summerside. So, hopefully I was under 5 minutes. That's who I am. Mike from Summerside is all you got to remember. You're going to hear a lot of great pitches today. You probably met a lot of great people. And at the end of the day, we just want to work with you to help you grow. Thank you.
Can you stay on stage, Mike? Actually, you know the irony, Summerside, Canada. Okay, it's a joke, rhetorical question. It's a lovely place, by the way. I looked it up, and it's great. And I have a question, actually. How did you break down all these organizational barriers, all these silos in the city?
Relationships. Build relationships and build trust, bottom line. And that's how it helped us. The other thing about a small community, in all honesty, is I end up running into a lot of these decision makers at the grocery store, the hockey rink. So we can have out of organizational conversations that create some meaning.
So it was all about relationship, more about informal relationship, because all these organizations are silos, right?
Yeah.
So what would you recommend to entrepreneurs to do the same thing in a different scales? That's the first question. The second will be, how can other cities work with you?
So how can you work with municipalities is show us the path to the solution. Understand the challenges we face as an organization. And my municipality is the exact same across Canada. We all face the exact same challenges, including the US. So understand what our challenges are, and then let's collaborate to find a way to do that. And the second part was, again, I'm sorry?
How can we scale this to other regions? Let's say there are a couple of cities in the sub-Saharan Africa or in Asia. What can we teach them, or what can we bring to them in terms of knowledge?
I think what we can bring to them is an openness and a willingness to take risk. And I think that there is a transformation in government perceived to be non-risk. We don't view it that way.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. The question from the audience? No question from the audience. Mike will be around, so you can talk to him afterward.
And just quickly to mention, if you're interested, we do have some brochures on Summerside and the Living Lab itself, so you're welcome to them. Thank you. Mike from Summerside.
Round of applause for Mike.
Great. So just as a reminder for the next people pitching is 5 minutes, and you're going to hear a first beep of the alarm on the minute 3, and then you're going to hear it on the 5th minute. The next person to come is Julia. Where's Julia? Julia.
Yeah, I passed
Yeah,
from behind not to disrupt the view of the stage.
So we can give her a round of applause.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Giulia Traverso, and I am the principal cryptographer of CySec, which is a cybersecurity startup based in Lausanne. And let me start this pitch by saying and acknowledging how happy I am that I'm here, that our application was selected as one of the winners of this ITU competition, not only because I have the opportunity and the honor to stand here in front of you today and tell you about CySec's mission, but also because I got to know all the other winners of this competition, and I got to be inspired by their visions and their drive. So, for example, one of the people that inspired me the most was Alin, and Alin comes from Romania, and actually he is an educator and a leader, and his goal is to teach and empower all the other entrepreneurs in Romania to make this digital leap. And then there was Valentina, who has this crazy idea of making Moldova a hyper-connected IT park. And then there was Lee, for example, who was not one of the winners, but he is more a seasoned entrepreneur. And he is from the UK, and is helping us making our environment a little bit cleaner by producing charges for electrical vehicles that are cheaper and that last longer. And like all these amazing people that I had the chance to talk to, there might be many other inspiring and wholehearted entrepreneurs here among this audience and among the attendees of this ITU conference. And this is great. And on the other hand, being in the digital world comes with a huge drawback, in my opinion, in CySec opinion. So basically, having a digital business or a data-driven business means that you're highly prone to be hacked. And being highly prone to be hacked means that you will incur in data losses that entail, according to many surveys from IBM or Cisco, this entails to a huge financial loss. And the average financial loss for a data breach is supposedly around $500,000. And so this financial loss doesn't even take into account that basically all these businesses will lose their reputation and the trust from the client. And then it will take a lot of resources, not just money, but also time and energy to restore the past equilibrium. And I just think this is frustrating. Like, honestly, if you think about it, this is super frustrating. Like, all these young entrepreneurs are spending so much time looking for fundings and making an effort to acquire the money that they need to actualize their dreams. And at the end, there's an algorithmic attack or a data breach, and actually they have to use this money and take them out of their vision to restore the equilibrium that they have before. Wouldn't it be great instead? Wouldn't it be more efficient if the money that they acquire would just be more effectively used to actualize their vision and their project faster? Well, this is what we believe at CySec, and the way we want to help all these entrepreneurs and digital and data-driven businesses is by providing them with a platform, a unique and an integrated platform where their application and the data among which these applications are based on can be run safely, so that they won't be hacked, they won't be attacked. And if you're here today, if you're here at this conference, you know that the leitmotif of ITU is better sooner. And really, if you really believe in this motto, then you also understand that at the core, the mission of CySec is to really make all these changes happen faster. So basically, it's supporting all these entrepreneurs really make the world a better place. So if you're interested in joining us in this mission, then just pass by. I will be here today and also tomorrow. Usually you can find me whenever there's some coffee stores, and I will be very happy to talk to you and discuss how we can figure this out and can do it together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Does anyone in the room have any questions? No one has any questions about data and how you can be hacked and how they can help you? No, he's just taking a picture.
You know that actually if you think that you are not hacked, it actually means that you are hacked. It's just that you don't know. Like in the cybersecurity community, we say that there's two types of businesses. Those that are hacked and those that don't know they are hacked. They have been already hacked.
Thank you, Julia, for these brilliant presentations. I just have a question. So what are you building at SciSec? Is it a platform? Is it an app? Is it an ecosystem? Can you tell us more about what you're building and what you would like help for in terms of making that your business scale?
So at the core, what we have is a platform. So this means that we have both the hardware and the software, where basically data-driven businesses and application can be run. And then on top of that, we are looking not only for investors, but for partners to build up our toolkits of already incorporated and integrated applications so that we are actually building an ecosystem where whenever new software developer or new businesses with new application come, they not only acquire and buy the platform, but they already acquire and buy all the other applications that have been already integrated into the platform. So in this way, businesses will be able to scale up much, much faster because there's already a common ground from which they can build on.
So just a quick question. Let's say I have a company called Behavior Hackers,
Yeah.
and I want to use your platform.
Yeah.
How would you help me?
So you are basically collecting data so that you can drive your assumptions and your theories about hacking behavior, so how people behave according to certain data. Could be like, I don't know, their mood of the day, or like how they influence, I don't know, compared to, I don't know, how they're dressed up or how the mood is, whatever. So basically what you need is the data on the one hand, and on the other hand, you need some, let's say, machine learning algorithm that enable you to give, to grasp and to get a sensible interpretation of this data. Because at the end of the day, you are trying to interpret and make out of this data some sense. Well, then this platform basically will help you to store this data so that, like, they are really there. Yeah, they're not in the cloud, like, where you don't know whatever security measure they are taking about it. The data are there, and also I guess you are not, or maybe if you have some software engineering in your team, they can build their own application based on the data. Or since we are not only a team of crypto experts, but we also have highly skilled software engineer, we can help you build the algorithm running and interpreting this data according to your needs.
Thank you so much. So please, if you can give her a round of applause.
Thank you.
Go find her in the coffee machines. Okay, so the next person that we have is Barna. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Yes? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello. Great, thank you. So, have you ever wondered that if you go anywhere in the world, startups are successful and great startups are just growing out from a few startup hubs which are really successful. But it doesn't really make any sense. So this is like a sector which should be the most independent of location. We are living in like the age of digitalization, in a time where you can run your entire business and serve the entire world, like sitting on the beach with your laptop on the Bahamas or at Bali or wherever you prefer. So rephrasing a bit, we really believe that you need to have the chance And we believe that you really need to get the opportunities all around the country or all around the world to grow a successful business. This is what we believe in Input Program. And just to give you a bit of a background in Hungary back in 2015, there were lots of initiatives, but the market was pretty much fragmented. We had funding, we had organizations that treated startups and helped them. But for example, in the really, really early stage, when the idea is born and the mindset is given, there weren't too much players, and there were plenty of gaps in the market where it wasn't profitable to support startuppers, so there were no one over there. So what we did is that we conducted a research, researched all these gaps, and then put together a comprehensive program to fill up those gaps, to be like a super facilitator within the startup ecosystem and provide those startuppers who cannot afford or cannot even get certain services from the market to help them to succeed and help them to get started. We have two basic pillars for this. For once, it's ecosystem building itself. We believe that you have to be able to do that from your hometown, or at least you have to be able to start it from there. So we looked up the 10 most relevant cities for us around Hungary, where there's relevant IT-based higher education, where you can get the foundations of the technicalities. We have local presence in these 10 cities. We have one dedicated person who is there to share the mindset, to share the knowledge, give basic business development consultation for these people who really aspire to be an entrepreneur, but don't really have the ways or don't even think about it really actively. So there are these people who are dedicated to build up the local startup community, to make it a closely knit community. They are recruiting and scouting mentors and experts within their region so that the knowledge and the experience can be given back to wannabe startuppers and youngsters who really want to do what's in them. And when these startuppers start to convert their ideas into sustainable businesses, then there's the other pillar we have. We have another pillar which concentrates on business development. We consult these startups, these individual startups. We help them to put together an investor-proof business plan. We help them to put together like a go-to-market strategy or a marketing strategy or whatever they are in need of. And after they did it, we support them to go international because that's what makes a startup big. Hungary is a small market, so they really want to go international if they want to achieve something. So we build up an international network on which we can rely on. And this is paired with the really beginning of ecosystem building and the international network brought together. We can help and fulfill our mission to enable Hungarian startuppers to become international successes. So that's what we do, and what makes us really, really proud and why we believe that we are on the right track is that we were given the UN Best Practice Award recently, and therefore we are really happy to share our experiences and our knowledge. So if you want to build an ecosystem in your country or have some kind of insights or exchange some kinds of insights, then we are really happy and open to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? So first I want to say really quickly that so we have our team have had a lot of encounters with people from Input, and it has been great. And one of the things that I noticed that is really interesting is that you're also helping build ecosystems, which me coming from the UK, I don't know if Lee can correct me on this, but I haven't seen this sort of approach so far. There's a lot of focus on the business side of it, but the ecosystem part is not as much. So I think that's really great. So my question for you is, yes, there are people that will be more than happy to share best practices with you, but what best practices do you have, or what do you recommend to other countries that can take from what you're doing?
Well, one of the best practices is the local presence. So we've heard about some initiatives that really wanted to do some difference online. But in order to grab the people and support from the really, really beginning, you need to be present. And in the really first phase, they won't be looking for you. You need to reach out to them and make them conscious about what they really want to do and how they can make the difference. So it's the local presence, it's reaching out in the right way, it's collaborating with local players and making them working in a synchronized way, not like a fragmented, siloed way.
So important. You have a question?
Yeah. Hello, I'm Malin, and as Julia mentioned earlier, I'm part of the ecosystem in Romania regarding entrepreneurship and innovation. And I was thinking, because I deal a lot with youngsters, I was curious, what's the desire of youngsters to actually start a business? And what's the percentage of them that actually do start doing things afterwards, contact you, for example? And how? And I was thinking if the ecosystem is fragmented, because again, you have Budapest, which is probably the center, one of the most active. What happens with the others around?
Okay, yeah. So for the first one, we conducted some researches, and at the universities where we've done our research, almost 2/3 of the people or students told that they really want to be an entrepreneur. They just really don't know how to get started. So we are there for provide them with these tools. And 2/3 are the ones who want to work for a startup, and 1/3 the one who even feel brave enough to get started with their businesses. Unfortunately, we don't have yet the number on who are the ones, what's the percentage who really get started. If I remember, it's around 5% on general entrepreneurial journeys. Sorry, what was the second question?
And the second was regarding the gaps between Budapest and the other cities or the other, I don't know if you're active also in rural areas.
Yeah, we are present in 10 different cities all around Hungary. So Hungary is pretty much centralized, as you just mentioned. Almost a quarter of the country is living in Budapest or around it. But what we really do is that we have the local presence, and we want to kind of redistribute the knowledge and intellectual resources we have. And that's the way how we reach out to them, and based on the local presence.
If I may add to what at least to the question that he asked. Actually, one of the cool thing about the input is why the UN Global Best Practices, because of what they're doing to actually reach out and build an ecosystem throughout the country, which is quite a unique approach because of the model and the way they built this. It's not just saying, oh, we're going to do all these incubators, we're going to do all these accelerators, which is the standard command and control approach. Everybody wants the flashy objects. We got to build them. But you can be an entrepreneur from the coffee shop. So what they did is they put in place a system to be able to cater to that need by actually unlocking the potential of the local communities and the local champions. This is actually what's really cool about this model. And then they started conquering the world with their global ecosystem building. Sorry.
Thank you, Mo.
But that's why this model is so cool. All right? So thank you. Please give him a round of applause.
Great. So if we can have Valentina from Startup Chile.
Hello, everybody. This is kind of blinding. So I'm going to share with you what has been the experience of Startup Chile, that is a Chilean public accelerator. So The program, it's a public accelerator and it started back in 2010 when the government was trying to figure it out how to change the mindset of the population into entrepreneurship and innovation and technology. So we needed some local references. That's what they were thinking about, but we didn't have any. So what they come up with was that if we don't have any here in the country, let's invite people, talented people from abroad to our country, so get our population inspired into this technological development that was going on back then. So the program started with the idea of changing the mindset. So the portfolio that we had at the beginning was 100% foreign projects. And after 5 years, we managed to have a 60% foreigners and 40% Chilean projects that were able to compete with those that coming from abroad. So we thought that at that time, we kind of also were on the right path of changing the mindset and defined that we also wanted to make entrepreneurship and innovation as a way to change the economy of our country as well. So this is what we look for when we are recruiting for our portfolio. We want technology-based projects that have an innovation component with a global vision as well, and they also that want to have some impact in the country and Latin America, so it makes sense for us to bring them to our country and give them funding. So we have 3 different programs that go from pre-seed until seed phase, and we give them from $15,000 until to $75,000, the equity free, and we have 2 different calls every year per program. What we offer them in order to come to our country, first of all, is a 1 year of landing, 1 year visa, and as of landing process, we also have a co-working space that's completely free for them, and we give them access to all our networks as well, along with an acceleration program. So far, after these 10 years, we have been recognized as one of the most innovative initiatives in Latin America, and also as one of the top 10 accelerators. And we have developed this huge network as well to offer to our entrepreneurs. We have an alumni network of more than 4,000 alumni, and also more than 1,600 startups so far. And also, after the program was created, actually more than 5 countries started to replicate our model, and more than 50 countries started a startup program after us. So that is what we are doing now in terms of the Startup Chile program. As I don't know if you have heard of it previously, but this is pretty much like a short version of the story of the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very, very interesting. Does anyone have any questions for Startup? Perfect. Oh, okay.
Hi. Could you give us an example of one of your success stories of a startup?
We have what I can give you an example of what we think for us that is successful story. Is one of the startups that went through the program, got an exit, and decided to come back to the country and to the region in order to start a funding investment into Latin American startups. And we also have another successful story of a company named The Not Co. that had able to raise $30 million with the founder of Amazon.
What I really find amazing, what you have achieved in Chile, but even more is that based on that success, instead of becoming successfully arrogant, you have even more the openness to share your story and share the details of the pieces which made that story really work. And I know, because you were not talking about that you are here to talk to people and really there to share all the experience you have done and work together. And I know Mo is very keen on collaboration. I think you made a big thing for your country and for the entrepreneurs, but you are really bringing it to all the other ecosystems of the world. And I think there's a special applause for that, because that's the mindset we really need nowadays.
I just want to add one thing. One word caught my attention, born global. Most ecosystem thinks that they should not have startups that are born global. But the minute you have a company, a startup with technology elements, you are competing globally. Do not make the mistake. Your ecosystem needs to be ready. So this is super important.
I want to say that I'm actually very honored to be invited here. So thank you for those words. It's an amazing experience, and I'm very grateful to have like the opportunity to know all these amazing projects, people, and like all the stakeholders that you have here. So I'm honored as well.
Congratulations, Startup Chile. Last question for you.
Sorry. Yes.
What is the funding model for Startup Chile? Is it wholly government or is PPP private intervention?
It's totally public funding. So we actually have like a very financial process that's kind of strict because we have to be able to guarantee the wisely use of those funding that we are giving to the projects, because they're not only Chilean population, but it's people that eventually may leave the country, and we must make sure that the investment that we're doing is actually being used as according to the vision of the program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So if we can have Caesar come to stage, we're having Latin America representing at the moment. Your mic.
Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So there are hundreds of new enabling technologies and digital innovations transforming our economies. Governments face a challenge identifying which to foster and how in order to have a greater impact. That's why, from the Mexican government, we came up with this idea, which is called the Observatory of Digital Technologies and Public Policy Trends. Just to mention a very interesting finding from the ITU itself. The state of broadband emphasizes that the fourth industrial revolution is actually transforming our economies. So this is something that we should take into account in order to actually do something about it for the progress of the digital transformation. Specifically, I would like to address that developing countries have a hard time catching up with technology. So we're normally facing the last mover disadvantage, and that's really bad for us. So just to give you a number, specifically in the case of Mexico, in comparison to other countries, we were scored in the Global Competitivity Index 2018. We were scored below 4 of the 5 technology enablers. So that's really critical for us. It means that we're not doing something right. And that's a gap that we think this project can actually help to address. Another interesting finding has to do with the fact that investment in technologies, in ICT specifically, is not enough. And considering that in many other of our countries, developing countries specifically, having a low amount of investment really puts an emphasis on how to use that money correctly and how to create a coordination among all different actors to actually do something together in a coordinated fashion, avoiding duplication and working towards the creation of synergy. So that's critical for us. And we think that the observatory can actually help to gather all the different actors in the ecosystem to sit them together, talk, identify priorities, and see a way forward together. Another interesting finding, and this really adds to my last point, is that there are not enough platforms for actors to interact, to have a say in digital public policy, and this is critical for us. Specifically, we are interested in bringing together the academia, other government agencies, the regulators, think tanks, and even international organizations who can help us monitor, give us expertise, and actually validate some of the processes. So I'm very honored to be here because it's a step in the right direction for us. And adding to that, the observatory itself will be very useful for us to have clarity on what are the different actors, the different positions, and we're actually working currently on creating a platform that allows them to work together to first make decisions together, and second, to be able to address what the priorities are for the sector, which are critical for us. So we can know how, as public servants, can work together to make relevant public policy. Agenda 2030, as an agreement made by the international community, calls upon countries to foster innovation. Goal 9 specifically states that without technology and innovation, industrialization will not happen. And without industrialization, development will not happen. So it is critical for us to be able to bring with this tool public policy that actually enables that growth and that advancement possible. Technology has no mercy and will keep evolving whether we're ready or not. So it's better to be ready. Join us in this initiative to pave the way for technology through public policy and reap all together the benefits it can bring. Thank you very much. I'm Cesar Contreras from the Government of Mexico.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Cesar? I have a comment.
Okay, good.
I think it is so important. One of the issues that a lot of, maybe an entrepreneur myself and others entrepreneurs here, one of a big issue that we're having is the lack of policies being able to adapt with technology. Yeah. So this is, I think it's such an important thing, what you're focusing on. And great talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for the nice presentations. I do have a question. Sure. How do you plan to come up with the first initiatives to actually drive change? Because as I understand, it's not just going to be an observatory.
Right.
You actually want people to have skin in the game.
Right.
How do you plan to do that?
That's a very good question. Thank you very much. Actually, what we're trying to do is to find projects that can be, let's say, the champions of the observatory. So we can, it's quick wins, so to speak, that we can actually prove to see that this coordination environment and public policy friendly approach really works and gives results. So that's kind of the first stepping stone that we're planning to use to actually give proof that this idea is worth implementing, not only in Mexico, and this is something else that I would like to mark here. We're conceiving this idea as replicable in other countries. We know that the observatory itself will respond to the needs of the Mexican context specifically, but the model itself can be replicated in other countries to be able to address their very specific needs. So that's something we're also taking into account from the very conception of the idea to make it replicable in other countries as well. Yeah, sure.
Last.
I have a question. So you talked a lot about kind of the disadvantages of developing countries not having enough resources and so on, but you have advantages as well because you don't have legacy infrastructure. So for example, sub-Saharan Africa was able to lead the world in mobile payments and mobile technology. Right. So how do you think about identifying and leveraging the advantages that you have?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for the question. This project inserts itself in a wider scope of work in which we're trying to overcome many of the challenges that we're facing as a country. One is connectivity. We know that we need to connect more people to actually have them, ready on board in the digital inclusion and the digital transformation overall. So this is something that, as you clearly mentioned, is an opportunity for us, not having a lot of restrictions, but also we're having some challenges that many developed countries don't have. And, I was referring to connectivity, which is already in place in many other countries. So that's something that we're trying to see as an entire ecosystem in terms of connectivity. Another very important, let's say, lane of work for us is skills for people to be able to make the most of that connectivity. And the observatory will be fitting into another area in the under ministry that I work for, providing information on what the upcoming technologies are, so they can have clarity on what the skills necessary to make the most of that technology for the citizens, for them to use, and for the benefits of their lives, but also to create industries and professionals that can help us create local industries as well in the country. So this is, a project that inserts itself into a wider ecosystem, and we're seeing this as a big contributor to the work of the under ministry and the government itself.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you tell us more about the governance model for this? Because it seems like this is not a center that can be necessarily owned by the government, but more by all the stakeholders. If you want them to put skin in the game. What do you have in mind?
Well, definitely, we're working with several partners. We're socializing the idea. This is just an idea so far, and we're trying to build this together. So it's very relevant for me to have the opportunity to reach out to you to see if you have any recommendations specifically on how this model would operate. And something that we're doing is we're reaching out to different actors from different sectors. We're doing this with the academia. We're doing this with NGOs, with industry players, and also something very relevant for us is to have chambers and associations from the industry on board. And we have been successful, getting a lot of positive feedback, even from the wider scope of the entrepreneurial part of Mexico. Not only the ones restricted or constrained to the telecommunications sector, which is our main scope, but also, let's say, the entrepreneurs in and business people in the wider context. Why? Because they're interested in the fourth industrial revolution happening in the country for the benefit of all the economic doing of the country. So we definitely were trying to see what would be a good thing for us to have all different players represented, and we don't want the observatory to serve the purpose of a single one of these sectors. So this is something that we are still playing with, and if you have any ideas, we're very open to learning about it. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
If we can have Samira and Nietzsche from Brazil. Yay, Latin America. You guys both mic'd up?
She's mic'd.
Hello?
Yeah, you can use that.
Hello? Do I have to? Okay. Here we go.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Samira. I studied a doctor in human-computer interaction, and I am in UX research at Instituto Atlântico from Brazil. And I will present to you our approach to support companies. Slide. Why so many companies develop products that don't engage their users? Why do the users not engage of the products? These questions apply to many products we use in our daily life. Quetra, an organization that specializes in mobile intelligence, report that average Android app loses 77% of active users within 3 days its installation. Então, what's happening with the products? Company fall in love with the solution, and not with people problems. And empathy is the psychological ability to feel what another person would feel with.
Pode ir? So, Samira mentioned she had some questions. She started saying that today we're in a fast pace in technology, and we have to create all these products to attend to the end user. But who is the end user? The end user, it's me, it's you. So we demand a lot of those companies, and we're not easy, are we? So a lot of companies now are failing to attend our needs. And why is that? There is a correlation between empathy and successful business. But it's easy to empathize with other people. Can you please hold the person that's beside you, hold her hands, please, just for a moment. Hold the other person's hand. Thank you. Can you feel the other person's hand? I want to hear you. I'm going to ask you again. Don't be shy. Can you feel the other person's hand? Yes. No. What you can feel is your hand touching the other person's hands. Sorry. It's physiologically impossible to feel the other person's hand. You know why? Because for that, you have to have your nerves connect in their body, and we can do that, right? So it's not easy for humans to empathize and to create the products that we want, right? So with that said, through empathy, it's not easy, it's physiologically impossible, but there are techniques that we can use to do that. Tomorrow Lab is an innovation framework that we use empathy. We bring people together. We use empathy and use design thinking techniques to resolve problems, to attend end user needs. So the next time you are in a business meeting and you are solving a problem, think at the other persons, the end users, what they put yourself in their shoes. Thank you.
Thank you, Neja. Thank you, Samira. The exercise was interesting.
So
I
yeah,
could
I
feel
got
this
people out
hand,
of
not
the
this one. Sorry. But I understand, well, we live in a world that has been a command and control world. And within every organization, you have a command and control units, right? You have marketing, engineering, sales, customer experience. Nobody's talking to nobody.
Exactly.
And yet, somebody has to design the product. So your framework is using basically a set of tools to help organizations to rethink their experience with their customers and be able to develop new products in our very fast-changing environment. Is that what you're saying, or how does this work?
We identify an opportunity, and through that opportunity, we have the Tomorrow Lab is about 45 days. We merge into the opportunity, which is the challenge, the problem. So we do a research, we do interviews, and after that, we choose a team with specialized in that problem and people who have no clue what they're doing there. So we mix them up in groups of people, and we bring for 2 days ideation, co-creation, presenting the challenge and going through diversion and conversion with that, the design thinking techniques, up to the end of the second day, they will present an idea that resolves their problem, and that goes to a committee who choose the best idea, and after that, we implement technologically proof of concept, and then we do a demo at the end of the whole cycle. We present what we can resolve that problem with. Such as, I will give an example just to make it easier. We had a partner, education partner, and in Brazil, it's very challenging to go into college, public education. It's free. So we have to pass a test, and it's a very competitive test. So the teenagers, they got sick, and we have a high suicide numbers now. So they contact us and they said, what can we use to help those kids to improve in order to pass the test, and at the same time, emotionally, we can help them to feel, that take the pressure out. So what we did the whole thing, and then at the end of the whole process, we had a smart app with machine learning, and we have a bot who communicates with the kids who are studying. And so they put the average notes, the average grades, where, if I want to go to med school, so what do I have to achieve in order for me to go to med school? So what they did was that the bot compare your grades with the last person who entered into med school. So it tells you what you have to study better, what you have to focus on. So this way it takes a lot of pressure. You have to focus on everything. And it keeps asking when it feels that you're not there, so how are you feeling? How are you feeling today? Are you happy? So it reports to the school, to the psychological department, and helps them to identify people who could be feeling depressed or anxious about it, so they can be proactive.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Any questions for Samira and Neja? Okay. All right. Great. Please give them a round of applause.
So next, if we can have Valentina.
Running. Okay, hi. Hi, everyone. So, yeah, it's really hard to stay in here. Now I totally feel you. So, what if I tell you that we have transformed the whole country into an IT park? Sounds interesting? Well, my name is Valentina, and I'm from the Republic of Moldova. It's a small country in Europe which borders European Union, and it's a bridge between West and East. So we have bright, talented people, great heritage in terms of R&D and technology, and at the same time, amazing coverage, internet coverage. So basically, great ICT infrastructure. So yeah, sounds great. We even have the greatest wine cellars in Europe. So sounds like a heaven, I guess, to a lot of you. But guess what? We have faced a lot of challenges during our development process, and some of them are pretty much linked to the human resources that we have. Since they're multilingual, since they're so great in the way they are, we were facing a huge brain drain. Also, this amplifies with the kind of a process of actually having this trust issue between the government and the private sector. Moreover, is the market segmentation. I guess to most of you, this problem is kind of familiar, and you totally feel that issue. So, how have we approached it? So, we decided to change the narratives. We decided to, how my colleagues are saying, flip it and hack it. Following what my previous colleague from Canada said, they had a lot of infrastructure, they had great things going on there, where we have a dream. So we have a dream of becoming the reliable partner to our IT companies. We have a dream to support them and to offer the ecosystem where they can thrive, where they can grow in a country and they can receive support from the government and ensure the dialogue between the private sector and the government. So how we did it, we created a virtual IT park which covers the whole country. You just need to be kind of registered as an entity in Moldova in order to be member, kind of to have a possibility to apply to the park. One of the main criteria in here is being focused on IT and IT-related industries and being totally dedicated to creating products and services in that field. More than that, when it comes to support, we don't just have a dream. We have also the mechanism in place to support the companies. When it comes to the mechanism, we have the single tax of 7%, which is available to everybody which is member of the park. The company is transferring that 77% single tax to the government, and the government takes care of it by itself. So we basically cut the bureaucratic barriers that the companies are going through. More than that, we offer support in bringing IT specialists in the country so that the companies go through the easier process, obtain a longer residency permit, and they face a lot fewer issues on their way. So we've been successful until now. We exist for 1.5 years, and we have managed to get on board 500 companies. Well, 500 companies, it's a great result, but more than that, we are talking about more than 8,000 employees. 8,000 employees which benefit from no taxation in itself because brutto becomes netto for them. It becomes much easier for companies to keep their human resources in a country. More than that, when we talk about the park, we talk about 1/4 of the companies with a foreign capital. And here I mean companies from 32 countries being represented in the park. So we do want to change the world. We do want to rethink the clusters. And I invite you all to join us in all that process and to kind of become one of our partners and kind of reliable member of the park, if I may say so. So good luck in what you do, and I'll be here if you have some more questions. So thank you. running from the stage.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for her? Yeah.
You cannot get away without questions. That would be very biased. Yeah. One question is, so you've got all these companies there right now, and you're starting to get some reverse brain drain, more interest, multinationals coming in. What is your dream in the next stage for the park? What do you see happening?
Well, actually, we want to build a cluster. Right now, we have a lot of companies being on board with us and kind of sharing the common vision. And we are rethinking again. We kind of reinvent ourselves on a way. And the next stage that we are going through is getting a park as a platform. We basically created a framework where everybody is feeling comfortable in doing what they do in a country. The next stage is going to be creating products and initiatives that are going to foster that evolution, if I may say. So everybody is going to engage into the process and become member of the community. So community building and fostering also and promotion of the park and its residents outside the country and creating networks between our members, ourselves, and the foreign partners. It's like the main focus for the upcoming future. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if I may say one more thing, it's much more comfortable to pitch from here.
Great. So if we can have Eric to present. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Here.
Okay, good afternoon. We are happy to be here. We are from Ghana. My name is Eric Ofosun-Kansa. I'm the Managing Director of a mini technology park under the Ministry of Communications, Ghana, set up to drive digital innovation and entrepreneurship in the Ghanaian ecosystem. We are grateful for ITUD, the Innovation Department, for this support with ecosystem best practices. Here we go. So the Digital Center is a mini technology park, space of about 9,000 square meter space with infrastructure and facilities and support services for digital startups, digital SMEs, and other technology companies located in the center of Accra. Our mandate is to create a conducive ecosystem for digital innovation, as I said, and we want to position ourselves as a digital hub of the sub-region, the West African sub-region. We've recently had a free trade agreement in Africa, and we are hoping we'll go beyond the sub-region to impact the rest of Africa in the area of innovation. This is our governance structure. We report to a board, and the board reports to the Ministry of Communications, and that is our team. These are some of the facilities at the center. So here we create thousands of digital jobs for the youth. Through the infrastructure we provide, we're able to attract and retain tech companies, tech SMEs, and also IT-enabled business process outsourcing companies who provide various services for companies as third parties. We also provide conducive workspaces, innovation spaces for technology SMEs to go about their innovation activities. And we have a lab, a mobile applications lab, and an innovation hub, which has platform, tools, and equipment for innovation in the emerging ICT areas. There are AI labs, robotic labs, and labs for other emerging ICT areas. There's a creative space for digital creativity. There is a maker space for manufacturing of the digital stuff which are created in the creative space. These are some of the brands at our center who we support with value-added services and other support programs. We started operation just 2 years ago because when the new government took over in Ghana, we discovered that there was a gap in the technology innovation space. There is a national plan for driving entrepreneurship, but there wasn't any focus on digital entrepreneurship. So my minister led us to create this space at the Digital Center, which was an abandoned warehouse, to bring in startups, to incubate them, to support them, and also to go beyond the park to support startups and SMEs in the wider ecosystem. So we can also call ours a virtual park, because we don't just focus on those in the park, we also go outside to do a lot of facilitation for them. We've come here with some startups who are not at the center, but they have innovative ideas, and we brought them on board some ITU programs. These are some of the successes we've chalked. We've created thousands of digital jobs, as I've said earlier. We run incubation programs. This was a female-led incubation program for female technology entrepreneurs in our ecosystem. These are some of the training programs we've had. This is currently ongoing. It's a national training program in artificial intelligence. And we also run entrepreneurship training programs for the youth of our country. We have hundreds of them coming in month after month to undergo training. These are some of the events and programs we've had at the center. And these are some specific activities we do in the ecosystem to drive innovation. Scalability, we are hoping to expand to other parts of the region and also to have collaboration with hubs in Africa and outside Africa so that we can network and learn from their experiences and best practices. We also want to undertake some exchange programs, both within Africa and outside Africa. We are looking at setting up a digital innovation fund specifically targeted at digital innovation so that digital entrepreneurs wouldn't have to compete with other entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. We believe with the right policy framework going forward, the right collaboration, digital skills training program, and incubation program, access to a dedicated digital fund, which fits into a viable digital economy. The government of Ghana is doing a lot of digitalization initiatives, mobile number interoperability, and lots of digitalization initiatives, which will feed into the entire ecosystem to benefit innovators in the innovation space of the ecosystem. And finally, we think these factors are critical to the success of driving the innovation that we all seek to drive in our ecosystem. The right regulatory support, we should be ready for disruption. We should have a competent team handling all these innovation activities. We should reinforce partnerships or collaboration, and with a dedicated fund and incentives to innovate, we think we can build our ecosystem and it will become a model of excellence for Africa and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Any questions for Eric? Yes.
I'd love to make a comment again. I think congratulations on what you guys did, and I think it's important, extremely important to showcase that it's not only the developed Western world who is driving innovation. Yeah. And therefore we think that you serve as an example for others, as Mo mentioned, who do not believe that their rural or local community is able to build an ecosystem who is basically supporting young people to, we always talk about become entrepreneurs, but it's at the end of the day is make something of their lives. And I think we definitely need these examples, and we need you guys on the journey to encourage others that this is doable. This has been done right now, and encourage them to believe that they are able to do that too. So another round of applause for that.
Thank you. So to add to that, the agency in charge of access, the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communication, which is supposed to bridge the gap between the underserved and unserved communities. They have community information centers, which is set up with ICT equipment, and we are going to leverage those resources to take innovation programs to the doorsteps of those in the rural areas. And that is going to be innovation in the underserved and unserved communities. And it is one of the programs we are going to roll out next year in conjunction with that sister ministry, GIFEC. Yeah.
Thank you, Eric. Please give him a round of applause. All right. So the next, you know who is next? I'm looking at him.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm gonna need this as well. Oh, I have a timer as well. Ooh. So before we had a discussion where we talked about the fact that if you're going to be able to get your eyes out of your phones, this means that we're going to have a successful presentation. And I hope that we're going to have I'm going to have 5 minutes, and I hope my colleagues as well are going to have more time to have your attention with us. So hello, my name is Alin, and as Julia said very nicely earlier, and thank you very much, Julia, I'm an entrepreneur in Romania, which is driven by a mission, I would say. I'm not a salesperson, but I'm more of a change maker, I consider myself. So this would be like my main job. And this comes from a mission which I think I developed it naturally, which is to build a new generation of entrepreneurs and innovators in Romania first, because I need to start somewhere, and afterwards expand that globally. And this comes from a personal story, if I can share it with you. Can I? Sure. So I had the privilege of going to Norway and studying there. So I got to see a lot on how the ecosystem, the business ecosystem developed there, in the startup ecosystem. And afterwards, I wanted to return. But I kind of was the only one. So we were a batch of Romanians which were studying there, and all of them wanted to remain there. And they were a little bit surprised that I wanted to go back. I think this is not only my story. I've seen that there are some other batches of Romanians who studied abroad did the same thing. I've heard afterwards that there are other communities which kind of face the same thing. And I started questioning myself, what's going to happen if all of the talent pool and all of the people are going to, that have access to this kind of education are going to flee the country. And I took a decision. I made a decision to come back and start developing the ecosystem in which I was, to take it to the next level. And this is where my mission came. And I regard three things. First, it's about building an entrepreneurship ecosystem in Romania. So get to inspire youngsters to think and act entrepreneurial. Also, a new generation of employees which are proactive and are actually concentrated in the job that they're doing, and they don't just look for money, but they're actually looking for building value added for the organization, so-called entrepreneurs, if you're familiar with them. And third is civil society. So an entrepreneurial mindset also develops in a very engaged civic society, where people start making changes in their own communities. But before going to the next point, I'm curious, because we're here to speak about innovation, which I get to see that it's a buzzword, both in Romania and in other places in Europe at least. How many of you feel that your organizations are transforming at maximum potential the innovation opportunities that the organization has? So they're transforming them in a very fruitful way. Is there anyone that has that? Yeah. So it is one. One. Anyone else? Let's take it as a country level. Who here feels that they're exploiting the national potential of their innovation? One. Not too many. And third, which is something which I got to encounter a lot in Romania, do you actually feel that young people have the capacity to helping organizations innovate? Who? Who does that? Who thinks? What about the others? Curious about the other people, which haven't raised their hand. Yeah?
Well, I think they don't have a chance. They're not prepared.
The young people. Yeah, exactly. And this is what we face in Romania as well. So we get to see a lot of the organization don't having trust. And this translates into other things as well. So this is one of the reasons that they don't have trust in young people. Second is the fact that organizations don't have the resources, both time and money, and they see money as being one of the most important criteria in innovation. Afterwards, they don't feel they have the strength to innovate. And sometimes, and this happens a lot in multinational companies from what I've interacted with them, it's the fact that they feel that they have too many opportunities. So that they don't know how and what to do with them afterwards. And this translated into an interesting thing in Romania. We're the last country with regards to innovation. In Europe, only 10% they say that they innovate. I'm not really sure about how they regard innovation, but this is what they say. So 10% is quite low. And the lack of trust in young people. So we have these opportunities that we've encountered, and afterwards we have a large community of Romanians, of young, talented Romanians in Romania that we've interacted with and during our programs. And we've developed this type of solution, which is an innovation boot camp and an innovation community that we're aiming to build all across Romania in order to help companies innovate. So we have opportunities, we have young people, and we unite this thing with an innovation boot camp, which is we use a lot of design thinking, something which a lot of people said earlier as well, that both helps companies bring up new solutions for the challenges that they face, but also it builds up skills for these young people, skills like empathy, interviewing, and also exposes them to a business culture. that afterwards translates into more opportunities for them, and it gets them more future-proof or future-ready. So we have some success cases as well. You see here, we've worked with one of the biggest companies in the HoReCa industry. And the CEO of the company said last year that it was their best investment. So this is actually proves us that what we thought about in our solution actually makes sense and brings added value. We've seen youngsters working with companies afterwards to implement these solutions that they develop for the companies. And it's another interesting thing that we've uncovered afterwards is the fact that companies giving access to these young people in their organizations, these young people are able to understand how the business works and see what are the strengths and the weaknesses within the organization. And they kind of act as external consultants, which companies, to some extent, they don't, being so operationally savvy, they don't get to see how the business transforms. And they have a sense of their understanding, but it's not actually a practical understanding. And these youngsters are able to provide with this clear picture of how the organization looks like from the exterior by interacting with the employees, by interacting with the environment. So I have a dream. And this dream, yeah. I think you've heard about this quote before. And this is something which developed in me by working with these youngsters and working with these companies. And my dream is to create a new generation of young people which are entrepreneurial and innovative. And this is both in Romania, but it's also abroad. And I kindly join you to help me fulfill this dream and make this thing together. There are two things which I thought about. One is helping companies, and the bottom line would be helping companies innovate. One would be either with access to companies or your organization or other organizations where we can help with the solutions that these young people have. And second is with building a new software as a gamified system in which we bring up these young people and bring up challenges where these young people can solve the challenges afterwards for the companies themselves. And this is a gamified system in a sense that youngsters nowadays are pretty proactive, but I can share with you more about these details afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan. I have a secret that I want to share with everybody. I got into hacking and looking for champions 4 years ago. First into hacking by a gentleman named David, who is sitting next to me. He actually taught me how to hack. And then the other gentleman who really got me into this whole champion, and the reason why I'm saying that, because you are a champion really trying to build a community, is the gentleman sitting behind David called Ron. And I remember he had a forum. The last forum he was here, he was actually mentioning this, how Silicon Valley was built through champions. Mm-hmm. I remember that clearly. So these two actually are the ones who influenced me into this work. So that's why I think most of us are here. So I'd like to pass the microphone to Ron and David to please have some questions for him or comments or.
Thank you.
So I have a question. So I'm actually on the board of a multi-billion-dollar company that's been incredibly successful building engineering teams geographically dispersed all over the world. Mm-hmm. So we have successful teams in Latvia, Lithuania, Kiev, and other parts in Eastern Europe. So how would we engage with you to understand what your capabilities are? Mm-hmm. I've got a CEO who's got very, very little time and wants to know, can you do RF engineering? Can you do embedded, et cetera? So just at a very practical level, mm-hmm. How would you attract folks like us?
So it depends a lot on what the challenges are that the companies face. But very practically, we usually have a meeting with the CEO in which we narrow down to the top 3 challenges that the company has in order to see if we can assess them or not. If we can solve them or not. Because sometimes companies have challenges with change management, for example. And this is something which basically comes within the company. It's not a team of external people that can help with that. But sometimes they have very operational things or very strategic things, like how can you increase sales or how can you increase the retention rate of employees. So we have this meeting with the CEO where we establish the main problem. And afterwards, depending on the problem, we have a brief that we work on with the person which is not the CEO, not the top management, but also not down either. So it's not an employee. It's somewhere in between that can feed us with all the information necessary in order to develop this brief. So this is a collaborative process. It takes a lot, depends on how skilled the person is, but it can take up from 3 hours all the way to 15. And afterwards, we put up a process. So we have a backbone of the process, which we adapt towards the company. We assemble the teams. And afterwards, we run the innovation bootcamp, which runs usually for 3 days. And afterwards, at the end, we pitch the ideas to top management. And from that point on, the management decides which are the ideas that they want to follow up on. Because here it can have three strings. Either the company gets the solutions and they develop them in-house. Second is the company works with the people that propose these solutions. Or the third is the company just decides not to follow any of those. This didn't happen yet, but it depends a lot on how the company sees the collaboration further. Cool. Thank you.
And the other thing you need to know is that Ron is actually from this place and keeps coming back to help people like you have done for your country. Anyway, that's his story. All right, please give a round of applause for Alan. Next, we are calling Majid.
Thank you, Muhammad. So I noticed every time somebody picks up the microphone, they really said something very interesting, and it's very inspiring. I remember our talk, Muhammad, since you went back in time and mentioned your talk with the gentleman. When we met a few months ago, and we spoke about innovation and the challenges we're facing and all the different ways to convince management and all that. And the characteristic that really stuck in my mind was passion. Now, we're here talking about ecosystem, and we see people from different, those lights are really bad, guys. We're talking about the ecosystem, but what I really sense is passion. And this is really something that's very common between all of those presentations. You notice me holding my phone. It's not that I'm receiving a call or anything. I just have, honestly, a goldfish memory, so I just took a couple of points just to be just going with the time. So my name is Majid Al-Madloum. I come from the United Arab Emirates. And in addition to sharing with you how we do our innovation ecosystem, I was really very impressed and really happy to learn all of those experiences. But before I start, I'd like to start with a question. And I'd like you all, please, to participate with your hands. Don't think of yourself, but think of your organization. And rate the innovation within your organization. Think of the processes, think of the people, think of the technology used. Think of those talks of having more solutions and problems, and then we go on how to figure out problems for those solutions that do not exist. Think of all this, take a minute, and then rate yourself. Please, go ahead. Okay, we see a very positive sign somewhere in the back. But the average sign I see is somewhere here. I saw one of them doing this, but I won't say whom. So our role in the United Arab Emirates and the Center of Digital Innovation is basically an enabler. We are a center that is part of a telecommunications regulatory authority. And our role is basically in 5 main areas. We are in charge of the digital transformation in the UAE. As you know, UAE is 7 emirates. We have a federal government and 7 local governments. It's very challenging when it comes to digital transformation, and maybe folks from countries with similar structure know those kind of challenges. I see nodding heads. We are also in charge of the telecommunication regulation of the telecom sector, cybersecurity regulation. We are also in charge of the domain name administration back home, .ae. And finally, we have an ICT fund that was developed and are investing in nationwide ICT-oriented projects, be it from sending kids to scholarships all the way to the UAE Space Agency related projects. And to put this in the context of innovation, when we first started talking this language, talking the digital transformation language, we wanted to really focus on few areas. And within the context of innovation, we really wanted to learn more about questioning. So questioning the status quo. In technical terms, maybe business analysis. Maybe that's the closest to it. We also wanted to learn more about observing. This is close to the colleagues from Brazil, I believe, when they spoke about empathy and design thinking. And we really wanted to know more about observing the users and how do they really interact, what kind of solution do they need. We wanted to also focus more on experimenting. Is it okay to fail within the context of government? Ask yourself this question. We work in governments. We have KPIs and we have timelines and we have management and so on and so forth. Is it okay to fail? Look at each other and you will see the answer. So this is what made us really, sit and talk with many stakeholders and see how can we embed this within the context, of a government. This is what drove us to start working on a nationwide capacity building program. When we started that program, ICT oriented, we were on the verge of starting what we call smart government back home. And the challenge was people define smart in different ways. And we have 7 emirates. So 7 local governments. 7 ways of talking or defining smart government and digital government and happy government and traditional government and so on and so forth. And there are many ways and angles to look into this. Security, the lady spoke about security. What will happen to the IT infrastructure when the mobile technologies comes in? We also have services, governance, and all of those kind of problems. So we started in that area, and the first year, 2013-14, it cost us 8 dedicated experts and few $1 million to run a nationwide capacity building programs, and we ended up training around 1,500 employees only, honestly. Today, long story short, I have one individual running our capacity building services completely online, and we managed to reach to around 50 countries. And it took us a while to do so, but the concept of sustainability was there from day one. The second area was, which brings us back to that failure concept, we really wanted to invest in R&D. Now, many successful nations who are leading the world, if you look into their universities, you will see huge investments are on R&D. But within a government context, R&D that spans for years is not acceptable. So we worked and focused on applied kind of R&Ds, time-boxed. We started from identifying challenges, like the gentleman who was talking about, on this matter before me, all the way to prototyping. And now challenges, believe it or not, you will find some potential customers who will come to places like ours. We are a digital innovation center, and they simply come and say, we want blockchain. And the first thing that comes in my mind is a grocery store. You go and pick up something and tell them, there you go, that's a blockchain. This is the concept that many people have in mind. We want a blockchain. Why? Management wants that. Why? Everybody's talking about it. This is the kind of problems we're facing. Now the new thing is fourth industrial revolution, by the way. We developed a user experience lab to empathize. And I was surprised once when I saw some of my colleagues, they managed to get tourists and as part of that testing ecosystem and get their feedback on what some of the government services. Now, many of you, I'm sure, knows UAE being a nice touristic hub, good airlines. Many people go there, 200 nationalities and all. So they said, yeah, these are a huge part of our customer ecosystem. Why not get you tourists? I don't know, honestly, how they managed to get to tourists, but we ended up having tourists from Europe, from Africa, from Asian countries sitting there and waiting for their turn to go into the UX lab, and they simply give their feedback about some services. Very interesting and challenging also, because you have 200 different expectations. You have 200 nationalities back home, so 200 ways of thinking, 200 ways of doing good things, 200 ways of doing bad things, 200 ways of, you know. And the last thing was, we wanted also to invest more in experimenting. We have lots of smart people over there from different parts of the world, but they are not given a chance to experiment. There is no one-size-fits-all kind of solutions, and it does not need to be the latest all the time. So we ended up building a lab simply for this purpose. Tools and systems and processes and procedures and software, that's the easy part. The challenging part is what value we generate out of it. And these are two questions that I've been asking myself from the first day I joined that center, is what's the identity of this center and what value it generates, so I can really come to great people like you and share this value, and you will appreciate it and share back something that we believe is also really important. That's how the basis of our ecosystem. We also invested heavily in establishing good partnerships with the universities. And I like my colleagues from the academia, but really I think they have different calendars than us. It takes ages for things to happen in that context. It doesn't really work in what we refer to as real life problems. It's not okay for us to wait all the time. We can't. So we came up with good practical partnerships, the private sector, the academia, students, R&D centers in UAE. We do have good investments in those areas, and we do have a lot of opportunities there. And this is the network that we throw challenges to them. And I'm sure you all know how the process works, but the only thing that I would like to share with you is simply challenge the owner of the challenge by making them think backwards. Simply ask them to write a press release. I learned this from Amazon and some colleagues in California, one of the good universities. We just twisted it to fit our context. They challenged them and asked them to write a good press release. And just imagine yourself launching this, whatever you're talking about right now, right, like tomorrow. And write a list of frequently asked questions that you believe the customers will ask you when you launch your product or service. And believe me, this is like a nightmare to them. It's really it's not easy to pass what you have in mind to a piece of paper. Let aside passing it to the brains of people who you assume will come and make this suddenly happen for you. So in a nutshell, after all these efforts, we think we became a little bit better in questioning the status quo. Our management, they became more accepting to the concept of experimenting and failing. And honestly, the results of some of the work that we produce to them are becoming much more important, and now it's becoming useful in some decision-making processes that they follow. So we're getting really close to be a data-driven decision-making organization, let's put it this way. So when we rated ourselves at the beginning, we were really here, maybe less than most of what you guys have, selected. But now I'm proud to say that we are a little bit higher, and we're simply continuing to grow in this direction, and we look forward to share and learn more from you guys. So thank you very much.
Any question for Majid? Yes?
But not while I'm standing under this microwave.
All right, we'll have questions afterward. But thank you very much. I do really like the model you have and how you have been trying to scale this, and by building capacity and leveraging capacity, and I think you actually did a little bit of undersell on the ecosystem you have access to that's built around this center. So you can build an ecosystem from many different perspectives. If you're a company, you can build your own ecosystem to cross that valley of death. You need to, unless you're born with the silver spoon in your mouth, right? If you are an organization, you can do it. Right? We heard from Valentina trying to do it for the whole country, right? We heard from Julia trying to do it for her own company. So, and then we heard from Marlene. So basically, at the end of the day, it's all about ecosystem, and ecosystem is all about people, and people is all about empathy. So thank you very much, Majid. Jonathan, you ready? We're already sold, but...
Hello. 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 Good afternoon, everybody. Mo has put me to the graveyard session. So I need to be sensitive to that call. Hence, I'm going to honor part of it by kindly requesting all of you to have a bit of a snooze. I'd love you to close your eyes. I'm not a great singer, because if I do sing, you'll definitely sleep. And that's not what I want to achieve. But I want you to close your eyes so that you're not distracted and just focus on the beautiful lyrics of the late John Lennon with his famous song, Imagine. Please close your eyes. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday the world will be a better place for one. No need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may open your eyes. I'm Jonathan Naidu, the CEO of Smart Exchange, a 15-year-old business incubator in South Africa. It's indeed my honor to be here today to present a model that we have. In South Africa, there's a saying that when you get up in the morning, you have to run faster than the lion every day if you are to survive. With that kind of motto, we drive the energy and engine behind Smart Exchange. Unfortunately, we have a challenge. All is not so rosy in terms of building the world for harmony. If we were to just look at the Sustainable Development Goals, all of our countries have signed up to that agreement with a firm commitment to start the program in 2016. I am specifically focusing on goal number 8, the challenge of jobs and growing the economy. And I would also steal a bit of energy on goal 9 to include innovation within that program. Now, each country has committed to these development goals and have also committed to measure their deliverables on it. Now, it was this kind of challenge that hit us hard in our country, South Africa, where, for example, the issue of high unemployment, exceeding 30% of those that are registered on the system, and on average of 39% for those that are tired to even register on the system. More scaringly is the unemployment linked to youth, 65% on average. what a recipe for disaster. So we're convinced that if we put a powerful program to focus on job creation, it would be automatic that the economy would grow. And there will be other positive spin-offs for the other remaining sustainable goals at the same time. The added spin-off as well is that it will reduce crime. It will give people dignity. And we stimulate it with innovation. Now, why is it important for you to embrace this kind of a program? Because our borders are extremely porous. And when one presses the pressure balloon bubble, your borders are the softest point. In Europe, for example, the pressure of immigration is a serious matter. Who doesn't want to lead a better life? So it is all of our responsibilities to make sure that we help poorer countries and developing countries as well to make sure that they create local jobs. If you do not want this kind of external pressure. But besides that, it is morally the right thing to do. We were blessed in 2008 to be recognized by the World Bank as a model of best practice for replication. But that's not the focus of my study. I'm saying the credentials are there and ready to sign off. It was our former United Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon, and I quote, this is what he said: "We don't have plan B because there is no planet B," unquote. But what do we have? We have SIR-GI. The acronym SIR-GI means smart, incubation, replication, growth, innovation. SIR-GI, in our opinion, is a saving grace to the challenge that we are faced with. Now, what is SIR-GI? Now, SIR-GI is creating a small structure, a smart structure, my apologies, that sweats current models and infrastructure. So we advocate a smart board. Why do we advocate a smart board? Because we've got strategic partnerships that's alive in our country with patrons, the municipalities, with government entities, with the innovation centers, with private sector and higher learning institutions. Now we say, with that model, with that relationships, and with that 15 years of experience, how can we then impact on the ecosystem? So we'd have a smart exchange, that's the entity that I run. We now get our mandate from a specialist sector committee, which is predominantly driven by private sector entities, but we do not exclude government. Because if you're not engaging with private sector, you do not know your direction of expansion and growth. So the chairperson of that subcommittee would be seconded to the smart board. And then that's the replication model. If you look at your development plans of your region, you will select the strengths of your economy. Because we're a port city, we've got a vertical on transport. Because we are strong on renewable energy, we've got a vertical on renewable energy. You will adapt the model to the economic focus of your country. So the chairpersons now move to a powerful smart board. Now, how does it operate? I've explained that point of the smart board. We then appoint a group CEO or an individual in the office of the president or an individual in the office of the mayor. You decide on the demographics and the kind of structure that you have in your country. But the function of that group individual or CEO is to give shared services to everybody. So if you've got shared services, your finance is sorted out, your marketing is sorted out, your policies are sorted out, and you're operating from one common electronic portal, then you should be hitting the road running in terms of service delivery to the incubated companies. Now, that's the rationale behind it. It's about shared ecosystems and shared resources. But now, in my case, I focus on the ICT sector. But this doesn't talk to replication in the ICT sector. Hold on a minute. Here's the good news. So, it allows me to take a very bullish position, not to only focus on urban centers, but to look at the growth of the complete economy. Now, here's what we've done. We've replicated smart exchange in a small town. In the South African context, coming from an apartheid legacy, we have townships that pushed people into forced settlements. We then started an incubator in the township, very different economy. And then we went rural. Now, each of these lessons are very different kind of lessons to all of us. In the rural, imagine setting up an ICT incubator in a small town. After the first cohort of entrepreneurs, there's possibly no opportunity for a second cohort because there wouldn't be a demand. So that model as well is retweaked in the context of Sir GI. Before I close, I want to quote our beautiful Nobel laureate and former president, Nelson Mandela. I quote, "We can change the world and make it a better place. It is in your hands to make the difference." I also want to quote our famous Nobel laureate, Mother Teresa, who said, I quote, "I alone cannot change the world, but if I cast a stone into the water, it will certainly create the ripples." I now invite you to join me, to cast the stone, so that all of us, Mo, you'll be my scoutmaster, so that all of us can make the ripples that will impact on the economy. And if I were to use a parable likened to Holy Communion, this would be ideally the miracle of the 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread that will feed the entire nation. I once again, in my concluding remarks, welcome you to Sir GI and thank you for being attentive participants. May the good Lord eternally bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. We're going to skip the questions, but we'll ask the question later because we have one more and we're done. Okay. There are people waiting outside for the next session. If you don't mind, can we have Junaid?
Hello? Do you have a presentation? Yeah, no, I'll just speak to it. Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, wow. Yes. Okay, I feel for everyone. My name is Junaid. I'm heading digital products in agriculture for Telenor Pakistan. What I'd like to do today is I'd like to start out by introducing 2 people who are not here and you haven't met them before. Jamal, he's 35 years old. He's a farmer, and just like his father and his father before him, that's what he's done. He lives in a fairly remote rural part of Pakistan called Okara. His wife, Banu, along with actually helping out with family, she's also managing livestock. If you think about it, for them, agriculture and livestock is their livelihood. Yet they don't have access to some of the most basic and absolutely critical and insightful pieces of information to help them increase their yields, for example, to help them better their lives, to help them understand what are the best practices that are being introduced, to give them access to experts who can give them personalized information. It's no surprise for this reason that compared to exactly the same climate and terrain in neighboring countries, their yield is not 90% of, not 80%. It's less than half. And that's not to say that there isn't room for improvement across the board, across all regions. It's just that in this particular case, things could be improved tremendously. What we have started, what Telenor has started in Pakistan, is a way to solve this problem using technology as an enabler. It's important to understand that what we have in Pakistan right now is a platform that is meant to solve this problem. It's a platform that reaches to the farthest, most remote regions of Pakistan, where these farmers can actually access it even using a feature phone. For the first time, these farmers are able to get expert advisory about their crops from experts. They can call in and actually have a conversation and engage. They can do the exact same thing about the health of their livestock. They can do the exact same thing now for their own health. So think about kind of building this community, this ecosystem, this platform that can and will be scaled. We currently have about 7 million monthly active farmers on this service. About 2 million of them are engaged on a daily basis. But there's a lot more that can be done. There's a lot more that we would like to do. I'll give you an example that for the first time in Pakistan, using this platform, we were able to share advisories about sandstorms that were about to happen. They hadn't happened, but they were to happen. And giving these farmers access to that information and guide them as how they can protect themselves, how they can protect their crop. Imagine being able to do this at scale. Imagine being able to do this not only just for Pakistan, but for globally, across different regions. So what I would like to do today is at least leave you guys with the idea that based on my experience so far, what we are trying to accomplish cannot be done alone. Telenor has not been able to achieve this success because we are experts in agriculture. We are not. We are able to do this because we've been partnering and collaborating, not only with local startups, but with local governments, and also having conversations and being at events and platforms like today's, to really look at all the synergies that are possible for us to actually change the lives of this target audience. So that's the kind of idea I want to leave you guys with today. And of course, I'm here today and tomorrow. So if you guys have any thoughts, ideas, I'd love to kind of have a conversation. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. We're not going to be able to do questions at the end just because we're slightly over time. You want to say something more?
Yes, we can. Any questions?
Yes, we can. We'll change your plans.
Hack it.
Do you guys have any questions? Come on, now you have to ask a question.
You have to have a question.
Not to us, but to Junaid.
All right.
So.
And also Jonathan.
Yeah,
Mike, you have a question. I know you have a question. Oops. Great.
Okay.
There is water on the floor.
Does Mike have a question? Mike has an observation. This has been inspiring for me as an individual that's trying to grow an ecosystem and trying to grow a population and try and grow a community. And I'm hopeful that as we leave here today, we don't forget what we've learned. And I'm hopeful that we can stay connected. We can share best practices. My hands are so sore from making notes that I actually feel like I haven't accomplished anything when I listen to you people up there today. So thank you so much for everything. I hope to stay connected with you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike. Go ahead.
I want to say something about Junaid's presentation. I think that was a key point that you said, that you use technology as an enabler. And I think that's something that, from my experience and from what we've seen, sometimes people get that wrong. They think that technology is the solution, but it's only the enabler. So I'm really happy that you touched on that point. And Alan has something.
Yeah, I was now thinking about the farmers, because usually they're not very technically savvy or technology savvy. How do you get them to use the technology?
So we've actually done multiple layers of, I would say, research, but actionable research that translates into something within the product. So not only the fact that we are giving them access, not only on a smartphone, but also on a feature phone, which they're used to. So they know how to, let's say, press and dial specific numbers. But then we've also done extensive research on usability, for example, user experience. We give them advisory where all they have to do is press one button, and we are able to customize information shared with them about their local weather, about the crop that they have subscribed to. So we give them advisories even without them having to engage too much with the technology, because we know that their ability to kind of engage with it would be limited. So we are kind of guiding them about what a digital platform can do, and then hopefully help them improve their experiences.
And I want to just maybe add something on that. There have been some cases where you try to bring that technology to farmers and people that are not used to using that technology. And it's not about them not necessarily having the skills, because then a lot of people just go into, oh, now we have to teach them all these skills. But really, it's about the empathy of asking, do they really want to learn these skills? So I think that's something that about yours is not necessarily just about teaching them, but just providing them the information that they need so they can make assessed decisions. Is that decision? Is that how you say it? About the problems. And
yeah, I just want to say, I don't know if you notice what everybody has in common here. It's about ecosystem building and how you do that. Every single one of you has to build an ecosystem. Whether you're an entrepreneur, right? I think the best example is your presentation on Monday, where the train is running and you're building that track in front of the train. You have to build that track, right? Community building is about ecosystem. Julia talking about SciSec and building that platform is about ecosystem. Telenor, a private sector company building an open innovation ecosystem so others can join and the bridge can be faster to scale. That is really why we're here. And of course, the biggest of them all, which is Startup Chile, the most successful of all the ecosystem that we know, Startup Chile, right? That they are here and that all of us together are trying to find a way to collaborate. So this whole session is about that. But I do want to thank everybody for really their active contribution to this session. And of course, our good friend Cesar, who is trying to build an ecosystem to facilitate the ecosystem of the fourth industrial revolution. But again, if you're going to take anything out of this session, ecosystem, and what is an ecosystem? I have a very simple definition of this. It's a group of stakeholders that comes together and decide to leverage their resources for a common purpose. What that common purpose is, I think we're all trying to create. Jonathan say happy life. What is Jonathan? Happy life and all of this wisdom that John Lennon is talking about. Yeah. But Victoria, I'll let you close
I just wanted to bring it to 3 words that were repeated over and over again, and those were collaboration. So please make sure to find these guys later. They're going to be around, and if you can collaborate with them, or if they can collaborate with you, even better. Collaboration, co-creation, and empathy. And empathy. So yeah, if you want to go and be empathetic and try the stage and get burned here, go for it, because everyone experiences it. But yeah, make sure that you make your connections and talk to these guys. And thank you guys for being here, and enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.